All right.
And it all works with the right password. Brian, it's yours, and I'm sorry everyone
Okay.
for the delay.
No problem. Let's see. Okay. So, just share my screen here. All right. Share screen. Share. Perfect. Okay. And let's start the slideshow. So, hi everyone. I'm sharing today about Langston Hughes, one of the great American poets. So just for some biographical details to start out with, he was born in Joplin, Missouri, February 1st, 1902. But very quickly, he was moving around the country with his mother. And so doing my research for this presentation, I was actually really surprised at just how much he did travel. So this is what Carl Van Vechten, who was a prominent literary critic back when Langston Hughes published his first collection, The Weary Blues. This is an excerpt from the introduction to that collection that he wrote. So he wrote, "At the moment, I cannot recall the name of any other person whatever who, at the age of 23, had enjoyed so picturesque and rambling an existence as Langston Hughes. Born February 1st, 1902 in Joplin, Missouri, he had lived before his 12th year in the city of Mexico, Topeka, Kansas, Colorado Springs, Charlestown, Indiana, Kansas City, and Buffalo. He attended Central High School, from which he graduated at Cleveland, Ohio, while in the summer, and there in Chicago, he worked as a delivery and dummy boy in hat stores. In senior year, he was elected class poet and editor of the yearbook. So even after that, he went to Columbia University for a year, but he dropped out and then started taking odd jobs. He was a delivery person, a line cook, and a laundryman. And then he eventually joined a shipping company and worked on a boat, traveling all over Africa and Europe. So in Africa, he visited the Canary Islands, the Azores, and all up the west coast of the continent. And after that, he lived in Europe for a while, traveling the continent, and then again working odd jobs as a waiter and a cook in Paris, and then eventually went with some people he befriended there in Paris to Italy, visiting Florence, Venice, and Valencia, and he lived there for some time, and he had done all of this by the age of 23. So, I thought that was just really impressive. And I think the quote here that's also included in the introduction to The Weary Blues is a great illustration of what he took away from those travels. So I'll just read it out loud. "Oh, the sun in Dakar, oh, the little black girls of Barutu, oh, the blue, blue bay of Luanda, Calabar, the city lost in a forest, the long shining days at sea, the masts rocking against the stars at night, the black crew boy sailors taken at Freetown, bathing on deck morning and evening, Tom Pay and Haneo, whose dangerous job it was to dive under the 7-ton mahogany logs floating and bobbing at the ship's side and fasten them to the chains of the crane, the vile houses of rotting women at Lagos, the desolation of the Congo, Johnny Walker and the millions of whiskey bottles buried in the sea along the west coast, the daily fights on board, officers and sailors, everybody drunk, the timorous, frightened missionaries who carried his passengers, and George, the Kentucky colored boy, dancing and singing the blues on the afterdeck under the stars." So I think all of these travels and experiences were essential to Hughes' development as a poet and as a writer. He describes his ideal subject and audience here: workers, roustabouts, and singers, and job hunters on Lenox Avenue in New York, or 7th Street in Washington, or South State in Chicago. People up today and down tomorrow, working this week and fired the next, beaten and baffled, but determined not to be wholly beaten, buying furniture on the installment plan, filling the house with rumors to help pay for the rent, hoping to get a new suit for Easter, and pawning that suit before the 4th of July. So unlike a lot of his contemporaries in the poetry community, he wasn't an intellectual. Like I said before, he never graduated college, only attending Columbia University for a year, although he was very intelligent. Instead, he socialized with working class people, not just in the United States, but all over the world. As a worker, he had an inside perspective to that community, but as a traveler, he could also view that environment from an external perspective. That meant his voice was accessible to all kinds of people and is still accessible today. So that accessibility earned him a lot of critics among earned him a lot of criticism among the intellectual community. And so one of his most notable critics at the time was James Baldwin. So I found this sort of side-by-side comparison from the New York Times Book Review, showing on one side, the left, a review of Hughes, a review that Hughes wrote about Baldwin's essay collection, Notes of a Native Son, and on the other side, a review of Langston Hughes's poetry by James Baldwin. And so you can see here that they did respect each other, although Baldwin was much more negative about Hughes's poetry. He begins his review, "Every time I read Langston Hughes, I am amazed all over again by his genuine gifts and depressed that he has done so little with them." He goes on to say, and one sometimes has the impression, as in a poem like Third Degree, which is about the beating of a Negro boy in a police station, that Hughes has had to hold the experience outside of him in order to be able to write it all. Negro speech is vivid because it is private. It is a kind of emotional shorthand or sleight of hand by means of which Negroes express not only their relationship to each other, but their judgment of the white world. And as the white world takes over this vocabulary, without the faintest notion of what it really means, the vocabulary is forced to change. And so I think there is something to this. Langston Hughes's poems are certainly popular among white people, and they're very commonly taught to white children in grade school as a sort of summary of the Black experience of that time. And so, it's possible that his voice has been appropriated, lifted from the vernacular of its origin. So James Baldwin mentioned this poem, Third Degree, which I will show you now. And I'm not going to read it out loud. I'll just pause to let you read it. It's certainly not something that I would have encountered in grade school. Okay, so one of the great aspects of Hughes as a poet was that he could encompass both the negative and the positive aspects of Black life. His style of poetry at the time was called jazz poetry, and he would do readings accompanied by jazz music. And so I have actually a video of that kind of performance that I'll play for you now. So let me just go ahead and... Can you hear it, or? No, you can't hear it. Is how do we set that up? Or you can hear it.
You have to share the sound.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
It's under share screen when you're
Right,
Sure.
so I think
Okay.
you have to stop the share and
This is
then,
great. Stop sharing.
Okay. All right. Stop share, and then share screen. Share sound. Click that. All right.
Lecturer. He's
There
in
you go.
town to give a lecture at UBC, but he's here tonight to read poetry, his own poetry, to a jazz accompaniment. We have Alan Miller to interview him. We have Doug Parker and his band to provide the jazz, and Mr. Langston Hughes has his own accompaniment, his own introduction.
sun's a setting. This is what I'm gonna sing. Sun's a setting. This is what I'm gonna sing. I feel the blues a comin'. I wonder what the blues will bring. Droning a drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard a Negro play. Down on Lenox Avenue the other night, by the pale, dull pallor of a one-bulb light, he did a lazy sway. He did a lazy sway to the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody. Oh, blues. Swaying to and fro on his rickety stool, he played that sad, raggy tune like a musical fool. Sweet blues, coming from a black man's soul. Oh, blues. In a deep song voice with a melancholy tone, I heard that Negro sing, that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in all this world, ain't got nobody but myself. I was going to quit my frowning and put my troubles on the shelf. Thump, 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 when he's put on the floor. He played a few chords, then he sang some more. I got the weary blues, I can't be satisfied. Got the weary blues, I can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more, and I wish that I had died. Far into the night, he crooned that tune. The stars went out, and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed, while the weary blues echoed through his head. He slept like a rock, or a man that's dead.
Okay, so now, yeah, these are works by Langston Hughes that we have here in our collection. So we have in the children's section, we have quite a few picture books sort of illustrating different poems of Langston Hughes, including I Too Am America, Lullaby for a Black Mother, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, and My People. We, of course, have a lot of collections of his poetry, as well as a collection of prose letters that he wrote. We have his autobiographies, I Wonder as I Wander and The Big Sea. And we have two of his novels, Simple Takes a Wife and Not Without Laughter. And here are just some online resources that I found. A couple of biographies of Langston Hughes. Some poets.org will have links to, sort of critical reviews of his various poetry collections, as well as the full introduction to the Weary Blues that I quoted from before. And here's a link to the page that the Beinecke Rare Book Library at Yale has about their collection of Langston Hughes's personal papers. And that's all I had. So thank you for coming and listening.
Thank you, Ryan. It's great.
Fantastic.
That was amazing.
Thank you, Ryan. That was great.
Right.
Was- It was nice to focus on an author.
Brian, as you were talking about American school children, I was thinking, I had forgotten that I even knew this, but in high school, one of my English teachers taught us the poem Motto by Langston Hughes, which I still remember, but I cannot recall ever being taught anything about James Baldwin, other than that he was a name that we should know.
Well,
I like the musical accompaniment too. That really added something to it. Thanks for that.
Melanie, today's Friday. Who's doing Monday?
Monday is Josephine.
All right.
I think it's at 9:30.
Let me see. I have 2 minutes. Let me see if I can get over to my Google.
Monday is 9:30.
9:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian, thank you so much. This was
Very
just
good, Brian.
fantastic.
Yeah. Excellent.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the chance.
Yeah. Now, and I pulled up, the Poetry Foundation is fabulous. I just pulled up Motto. I think I need to share it with somebody.
I can recite it, but I won't do it any kind of justice. It's short.
I know.
Heloise, Yelena, and Ellen, when we all go, could you stay on with me for just a minute?
All right. I think what I need to do is make you a co-host so I don't end the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So, Brian, I'm going to revoke your co-host.
Thank you, Alice.
Steve, I'm on too.
And Steve, I'm going to make you the host.
Okay, thanks.
So that way people can leave and we won't end the meeting on you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Have a great day, everyone.
Oh, Judy, good.
I'm on too.
Good. So do you guys still want to meet at Lucky's? I'm up for it. If you're not, because of the weather, we can try another time.
What are the roads and the sidewalks like?
Well, the main roads aren't too bad. The sidewalks are half and half, I think.
Okay.
I only came from the garage, the parking garage on Broad Street over here, and it was okay.
Okay. Because there's absolutely no traffic out
Right.
here.
Right.
And so I was thinking of walking instead of driving. And then I thought, well, maybe that's not such a great idea either.
It looks okay if your feet are covered well. I wore boots in, but I'm fine. Let's see. I'm fine to go. So
Yeah.
if anyone wants to go, if I have one person, I'll go.
Is David coming out?
He can't. He has a doctor's appointment today. He couldn't get out of,
Oh,
but
okay.
he wants to do it another time, and I could do it with just him, or we could try another time.
Okay.
Steve,
all right.
if I could make a suggestion, I mean, I'm certainly willing to come today, and I just live down the street, as you know, it's no problem for me.
Yeah.
I personally think it would be better to wait until David can join us. That's just a thought that I have.
Well, it would
I don't know
certainly.
what other people have,
Yeah.
what other people think about it. And also, I think it's slippery. I haven't been out.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of slippery. I mean, it wouldn't be any problem for us because I live near the library and you guys are at the library. It's my free day. That's why I'm zooming in from home.
Right.
But, so what would you like to do? I mean,
Well,
Fortunately, I won't be there. I'm sorry, I have to go to the Dex. I won't be able to make it because I'm waiting for a phone call to pick up someone who had a medical procedure and I don't know what time. So I can't really commit for that today. Sorry.
yeah, you told me that, Yelena, and I wasn't sure, and that's why I asked you to stay on.
Me, Steve, Eloise. Okay, bye.
Eloise.
Oh,
Yeah, I can go either way, but if we decide to postpone, it's fine as well, because, I mean, Heritage is clean. I drove, but, I mean, I could go either way. It doesn't matter.
Why don't we try with David? I think that
Right,
would make
I
it a
think
lot
it's a good
nicer.
I
idea,
would feel
because-
better about that.
Because
I-
we're
I-
doing that.
He's like the guest of honor, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Right.
doing that too, yes. For the,
Yeah.
it's not just a lunch.
Right.
We can go to lunch, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's a different story. Yeah.
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good. I'll be in touch with David and then I'll get back in touch with you guys.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Steve, for
Okay,
all your,
thanks.
Thanks, Steve,
your
for doing
efforts.
that. All right. Take care.
Oh,
Thank you,
and-
Steve.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Okay,
setting it
sure.
up. And
Bye.
this really is wonderful. It was such a great idea that you had. So thank you.
It
Yeah,
was, thank you.
We'll get it done.
It's always
We
hard to
always
plan
do.
with lots of people and schedules.
Lots of things, lots
Yeah.
of different schedules, lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye-bye.
Take
Have to
care.
go.
Bye-bye now. Okay.